On this Failure to Launch, we're covering a movie that's a little bit lesser known. A lot of the episodes have been about a little bit more obvious sequel-bait films, but I figured it's time to talk about the Dolph Lundgren action sci-fi horror flick, I Come in Peace, which you may know by a different title as we're about to discuss. Now, this movie doesn't necessarily feel as if it was setting up a franchise, as you'll see as we get into it, but you're going to find out that the attempts to make this into a series were not always peaceful. They were more in pieces. All right, 1990 saw this kick off with I Come in Peace, or Dark Angel. It was originally going to be called Lethal Contact, but was changed to Dark Angel after filming. But before release, the US distributor decided to change the title since there were two previous films with the title The Dark Angel, and they wanted to avoid confusion. I'm not sure how someone would confuse a Dolph Lundgren sci-fi actioner with a 1925 and 1935 drama, but hey, why not? So they changed the title to I Come in Peace. It had that title in the US and India, but everywhere else in the world it was released as Dark Angel. Interesting to note that in 1994 there was also a full moon movie called Dark Angel, and they just threw The Ascent on there as a subtitle to distance itself from what's now 3 movies with that title. To be a bit more consistent but somewhat confusing for those of us who knew it as I Come in Peace, recent reissues of the film from MGM Classics and Shout Factory were put out under the Dark Angel title. Whatever you want to call it, we start with a crash-landing alien who looks like a prototype Raiden who says, "I come in peace." It's in the title. Depending on where you live. We meet police officer the Punisher Mark I, whose partner is killed, and the alien shows up with this amazing weapon. He shoots a CD that flies around the room and slices people up, making sounds like the Phantasm Ball. Kane gets paired up with FBI agent Brian Benben from the HBO show Dream On, which is oddly not streaming anywhere, and I used to have a huge fascination with, but now I'm terribly, terribly afraid to rewatch for fears that my shining memories of it will not hold up. Michael J. Pollard shows up with probably the most unusual reaction to having a gun pointed at his schminkle that I've ever seen. So here's what the alien does. He injects people with a form of space heroin, gets them really high, and then uses a probe to extract the endorphins from their brains. He's also being chased by another alien while Kane faces off with Holland Manners, and the good alien is mortally wounded and tells them that he's a space cop. And Talak is a space drug runner, and he's on Earth to get cheap product since the endorphins are like high-grade space narcotics. They have a final showdown, and this was 1990, and action movies in this era were contractually obliged to have their endings take place in an old factory, with Kane delivering the old one-liner finish. I come in peace. And you go in pieces, asshole. So what's the story with the sequel here? It seems like it was all wrapped up, right? Well, this movie was directed by Craig R. Baxley, who was fresh off of a hit with Action Jackson, starring Carl Weathers, and it was a bit of a genre shift for him. Unfortunately, the film underperformed at the box office, with the budget hitting around $7 million or so. It debuted to a pretty soft $2 million for the opening weekend, and dropped down to less than $1 million in its second, taking in only about $4.5 million in its total run. Part of that could be due to its release shift, since it was scheduled to come out on August 3rd, which is a little closer to the prime summer release window. However, filming went a couple of weeks over their deadline, and the movie had to be delayed, pushing the release back to September 28th, which had a huge effect. You see, August and September are what's referred to as dump months. Generally, they're when the movies get pushed out that the studios don't have a ton of faith in, as those are released in the spring, late spring, early summer months. September is usually empty, considering that younger moviegoers aren't going to the theaters because of school, and the start of the football season distracts as well, making the month one of the least desirable release windows. Losing that earlier time frame, combined with mostly negative reviews, hurt the film's potential for ticket sales. It was called stale, mundane, and overly cynical. Plus, I just want to point out that they spoiled the ending one-liner in the damn trailer. Who does that? Even with all that, a sequel was supposed to happen several times. Back in the later part of the 90s, there was a ton of movement on it. The Dino De Laurentiis group brought the rights to the original with the intention of continuing the series, and one thing that was very clear from the very start is that Dolph Lundgren would not be involved. He apparently had no interest in making sequels to movies that he was in, having previously turned down making Masters of the Universe 2 and Red Scorpion 2, and also said no to any follow-up here. Let's face it, if he's not doing He-Man 2, he's not doing this. Screenwriter Harv Zimmel was hired to write a second part and was told to use entirely new characters. His script changed the action from Houston to coastal California, with a burned-out detective investigating a string of disappearances of homeless people and prostitutes. He's assisted by a female Interpol agent who's actually not even human and is also one of the alien police officers come to Earth in search of yet another space drug runner. It was reported that Bridget Nielsen was attached to the female alien, and everyone seemed to be really happy with the script, but were unable to raise enough money to get it going. It seems like they were able to get some funds together since around '99, Baxley was approached and offered to return to direct the sequel, but was told he would have to do it with a $3 million budget, so he passed. At this point, the rights issue started to become contentious, throwing doubt on any further movement, but one person is still carrying the torch for it, and it's Matthias Hughes, who played the villainous Talek. Back in 2016, he announced that the sequel was indeed happening, proclaiming on social media that the follow-up was supposed to start filming later that year, and in an interview claimed that the rights were now with MGM, and that he had had lunch with one of the bosses there who loved his idea for a sequel, but nothing came out of that. However, as recently as mid-2021, it looks like he hasn't given up on it, and it looks like someone is still pushing for it as some test footage of Hughes in the familiar outfit surfaced online. It's unknown if the footage was some sort of actual pre-production work or just amateur fight choreography, but with no studio announcement, the latter is more likely. So with all that, it's looking pretty much that a second part at this point is mostly just Hughes' passion project, but without the rights or funding, I Come in Peace might be like coming in One Piece. So there you have it. It's just one movie that hopefully you guys have heard of. This is one that I watched quite a bit when I was younger. I don't know why, it was just on cable a lot, and I watched it quite a few times. And it's not great, but it is very fun. It has some cool effects going on, and some silly action, and I enjoy the hell out of it. I would kind of like to see a follow-up to this. The concept of an alien drug runner getting people like super duper high, so that he can like get their brain juice and take it into space to sell off to other junkies is kind of intriguing to me, and I think that that's a lot of fun. I would like to see somebody do something with that. If that sounds interesting to you, or if you happen to really like this movie, let me know down below. If you know it as I Come in Peace or Dark Angel, let me know how you always knew about this movie. If you're surprised to know that it even had another title, like I was when I saw it on the racks as Dark Angel, I was like, what is this? This looks like I Come in Peace, and it was. Let me know that down below. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, share it out to your friends. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you think about it, maybe go to the Patreon page at patreon.com/movietimelines and help support the channel, which helps me make more movies about, old movies that need sequels, apparently. Yeah, hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you very shortly for another great one. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye-bye.